We're listening. Okay, I've never done anything like this before, so excuse the stuttering. Anyway, so we're all descended from John Broome and from Agnes, and also from Agnes's father, Samuel Trethewey, who was the hydraulic mining engineer. Generations of Broome descendants have been fascinated by John Broome because we don't really know precisely who he was or who his father was. We've got an idea who his mother was, but we're not, again, entirely sure, unless Nicky knows different. A lot's been written down about the Trethewey family, particularly after Samuel and his sons went off to Canada. They emigrated, leaving Agnes behind, because she got married by then. But today and tomorrow I'm hoping that we'll find out more about John Broome and also about Samuel Trethewey whilst he lived in Derbyshire. Next slide, please. Okay, so today's events come about because thanks to the effort of Jane Middleton-Smith and her team of fellow historians, and I'd like to thank them enormously for everything that they've done and achieved. You might get one at the end if you're lucky. So my grandfather died when I was 16 and we knew nothing about the Broome family at all. And then my father had Alzheimer's and he didn't talk and didn't tell us anything. And we didn't get access to my grandfather's papers until about 2006. In his papers I was intrigued to find this photograph of a painting of Agnes and John, which has got writing on the back, which might be Brenda's or it might be Alaric's.
Yes, they both had copies.
They had copies,
yes,
did they?
I've got one.
Yes.
Yes.
There was also a photocopy of a family tree, and on it was written against John's name, worked at John Smedley. So that's how I found out about John Smedley, the factory. And there were various other notes on it. Next slide, please. Okay, there was also this photograph of Lee Home, which we're going to be visiting this afternoon. Very kindly, Chris Wilde has invited us to go there. Next slide, please. And this other view of it, which is beautiful. So this is one of the 3 houses that we know of that the Broome family lived in Lee. And then finally there was this photograph, next slide, of the tennis party. So I was rather intrigued when I saw that because, no idea who all these people were, but in our family we're very short and square, and I always thought we were sort of descended from the Urals or somewhere, but then seeing Agnes in there I realised that actually we're sort of Cornish pit props. So I'm not sure whether this was taken at Lee Home or the Woodlands possibly. Which is another house.
May I just interrupt that?
Yeah.
I missed it earlier. Is that John Broome at the back?
That's John Broome, yeah.
Thank you.
And that's Agnes. And this, I haven't named all the people, but I think Ray and Vicky probably.
No, I only know 3.
You only know 3.
I've got another. That's just Nicky.
Have you got writing on the back?
You had that.
Right.
But rather annoyingly, it's framed and it says the names of everything, but it's under the frame. And I'm happy actually to take it out of its frame because everybody is named on it.
Yeah, oh, really? Well, that would be
yes.
That would be fabulous if we could. Yeah.
I know that there's a French lady in there.
Yes, you thought there was a French lady.
Henriette, was it Lardon?
Oh, Antoinette. We used to come and visit too.
Wow.
She stayed, yes.
I was also curious. I think this is a Broome in the front, in the middle, but I did wonder whether it was the Japanese gentleman. Yes, on the census. But
The one at the front left is Fred.
yes, that's your grandfather. But the one in the middle, it looked slightly Japanese in the photo, in one of the censuses.
And the lady with the hat, I think, is Harriet Taffy, Alicia's
Second from the right.
second from the right.
And next to her is Constance.
And next to her is Constance.
Yeah.
So Constance is the youngest. So Constance was the youngest one on the far right.
Yes.
Anyway, so I was intrigued by the photos, and it set me off trying to find out more about the Broomes. But I wasn't aware at that time that Nicky Cunningham had already researched them extensively in sort of 1978.
And bored everyone to death with my researches.
And as had Brenda Jackson, who you'd colluded with, hadn't you? And you'd written to each other about it all. So that's Brenda is Vicky and Diana's mother. But the bare bones of what I found out was that John Broome worked here at Lee Mills for John Smedley twice in his life. And indeed, when he married Agnes in 1855, the wedding service was officiated by John Smedley. And this is a copy I got of the marriage certificate. I think we've all sent off and paid our money, but we could have just photocopied them. But anyway, so this is a copy of the marriage certificate, which you can see his father's name is left blank. And so there's not really a clue there as to who he was.
Can I just interject an amusing aside? If John Smedley did officiate, I'm not aware that he was ever kind of became officially a minister of anything.
But in the chapel, couldn't anybody do it?
Well, I'm not sure, probably.
I believe that was always my mother's explanation, because they were chapel.
So you're saying they were not married?
I'm just saying. Yes, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's intriguing, and I genuinely, that's something I want to check up.
Yes.
Because he married several people, including his own cousin, who became the heir. So.
Yes.
Oh right, he married them as well,
He
did
married
he?
them, yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
So I found out that John and Agnes had moved from Lee to Leicester, and they lived in Leicester for a number of years. So they're in the 1861 and 71 censuses of being there. And the family knowledge that we had passed down was that John Broome had argued with his employer, we believe John Smedley himself, over religion, and that caused him to leave and work in the hosiery industry in Leicester. Then when John Smedley died in 1875, the next census shows of 1881 has John Broome and family back in Lee, living at the grand house of Lee Hall, which we're not visiting today, but you can rent it. So if there are 20 of you, we could club together and do another one if you want. I thought that was an organisation too far, really.
And with probably another note on it than what
Exactly,
we're doing at the moment.
Exactly. Anyway, so they were back, yes, and that was Lee Hall was Florence Nightingale's family home. But his profession, when he's back here, says hosiery manager. So the illegitimate John Broome, working as a labourer in Lee, we believe, in 1841, the 1841 census, became the manager of Lee Mills, and I was fascinated to try and find out how that all happened. And I'm hoping that today we might get a few more clues. But I approached Jane Middleton Smith, having seen you on Who Do You Think You Are? Starring with Charles Dance. Because originally I had contacted John Smedley, and they said that all the archive stuff was at Matlock, and I then sort of rather lost interest and didn't pursue it. But then when I saw Charles Dance, and it said on the thing he was on a train going up to Lee Mills, I thought, and then they said archivist, so that's why I emailed you. Anyway, so we're very grateful indeed to be allowed to come here and have a tour of the factory, and we're going to hear what Jane and her team of historians have found out. And also Brenda Jackson, in one of the letters to Nicky in 1978, she said about John Broome, she said it's really like a real-life detective story. So today Jane and her historians, as well as Nicky Cunningham and Vicky Elmett, will be sharing their detective work with us, and we hope that we might see a few more of the puzzle pieces come out and emerge. But we were going to say that if people have got questions and corrections, perhaps if we wait till the end of, rather than sort of interrupting, I don't know if that was something that Vicky and Ray thought, if they could get sort of more of a stream of things, and particularly with Ray filming, I think, makes it easier. Anyway, I've done an enormous family tree, and I've managed to leave Vicky off it. Sorry, I haven't left it off, Ancestry.com left it, but Ray, you are on it. But it's if there are any hints and tips about apps for producing family trees, I'd be very grateful, because Ancestry.com is hopeless and has enabled a lot of gluing and pasting and stuff. So people can look at that if they don't know where they fit in.
I think Vicky was there.
Yes, you're there.
She's hiding behind Ray.
She ended up on the cutting floor, I think. Anyway, so that's it there. So, thank you very much, and over to you, Jane. I thought if you wanted to kick off, and then, perhaps Nicky and Vicky after.